Today we're crocheting a flower drawstring pouch. And you can make 2 flower granny squares for a flower on both sides, but I did make a solid granny square in the back, and I'll teach you how to make this granny square as well. And this is a drawstring pouch, so if you pull on the strings at the top, it'll close up the pouch. And this project is great for holding smaller things in a larger bag or to give as gifts. For the free written pattern, you can find it at vivcrochets.com or at the link in the description box below. And if you do enjoy this tutorial, please leave a like or comment to let me know. Thanks so much, and let's get into the materials. For this project, I used about 30 grams of yarn, and I used Red Heart Super Saver in the colors Gold, Aran, and Light Sage. And you'll need 3 for the center of the flower petals, and then the base color yarn. And this one is Red Heart Super Saver, which is a medium weight yarn. And I also used a 5mm hook, some scissors, and a yarn needle. And we're going to start with our yellow yarn. And first we're going to make a magic ring. And to make a magic ring, place the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Then grab the yarn with your thumb and make sure that you have a good tail under your thumb, about 4 inches at least. And then we're going to grab the top and wrap it behind our 2 fingers and then over the front to form an X. And then you can hold it with your pinky. And then with our hook, we're going to go under one side of the X and then over and grab that other side and pull it through. And then we're going to take these 2 fingers on our right hand and we're going to grab this entire thing, including our hook, and pull it off of our fingers. And now we have our magic ring. And to make this ring a little smaller and easier to work with, we can just pull on the tail and close up the hole a little bit. And now it's a little bit smaller. Now we can start round 1. And to start round 1, we're going to chain 2. And to chain, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Again, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. So there are our 2 chains, and now we can start working into this ring. And in this ring, we're going to do a total of 8 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So here is our first double crochet. Again, to do a double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And there is our second double crochet. Now we're going to keep adding double crochets until we have a total of 8 double crochets in this ring. Now I have a total of 8 double crochets, and you can count them using these V's around the outside or by counting these posts. So there's 1, here's the next post, and the next one. And remember that this chain 2 in the very beginning does not count as a double crochet. And once you have your 8 double crochets in this ring, we can pull on this tail end to tighten the ring. So just grab hold of your last double crochet and the tail end and just pull, and the hole should close up. And to finish this round and every single round, we're going to do a slip stitch. And the slip stitch will always go into the first stitch of the round. So look for the first stitch that you made. It's right next to that chain 2. So over here, that post right here, right next to our chain 2, we're going to look at the top of it and there's a V right there. We're going to go under that V, just under those 2 loops. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, and then tighten the knot. And there is our flower center. Now we're going to switch to our petal color yarn, and I just have white. And to switch colors, you can use whichever method you prefer. I'm just going to take my yarn like this, hook it onto my hook, and then pull it through the loop on my hook. And then we're going to make sure that we have a long enough tail. So again, about 4 inches on the white yarn. And then we're also going to tighten this loop just by pulling on the yellow yarn. And then also tighten the loop around our hook by pulling on the white yarn. And now our white yarn is attached. And we can also cut off our yellow yarn since we won't be needing it anymore. And just cut off about 4 inches. And to secure my attached yarn, I'm going to tie these 2 tail ends together. So just double knot them. Now it's secure. Now we can start on our second round. And this round we're going to start by chaining 3. So chain 1, 2, and 3. Next, we're going to do a treble crochet into the first stitch. So the first stitch is going to be that stitch that we just slip stitch into at the bottom of our chain 3. So right here, just to the left of it, this V right here, that is our first stitch. And we're going to be working into the front loop only of this stitch. So instead of going under the 2 loops of the V, instead we're going to go under only the front loop of the V. And we'll come out the top like that. And working in the front loops only will help us form the granny square, but if you do just want the applique, you can work under both loops for this entire round. And in the stitch we'll do a treble crochet. So to do a treble crochet, we're going to yarn over 2 times. So there's 1 and 2, and we're going to go into the front loop only of this first stitch. So again, going from the side, under just the front loop, and up and out through the top. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through, and you should have a total of 4 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And there is our first treble crochet. Next, we're going to chain 3 again. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do slip stitch into that same exact stitch we did our treble crochet into, and we'll go under just the front loop as well. So go into that same space and under only that 1 loop. And then to do a slip stitch, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and then tighten it. And here is our first petal. And we're going to do this into each of the stitches to make 8 petals. So let's repeat that again. Just like the start over here, we're going to start by chaining 3. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do a treble crochet into the front loop only. So the next stitch is this next V right here. And again, we're going to only go in the front loop. So we're going to yarn over 2 times, going from the side and under just the front loop and out the top. And then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then to finish the petal, we're going to chain 3. And we'll do a slip stitch into the front loop only of the same stitch. So again, just under that loop, and then yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, and tighten it. And there is our second petal. So let's do that one more time. We're going to chain 3 and do a treble crochet into the front loop only of the next stitch. And then chain 3 and do a slip stitch into the front loop only of that same stitch. And there is the third petal. Again, we're going to be doing that same thing into each of the 8 stitches all around, so we're going to have a total of 8 petals. And I'll meet back up with you once we get to the end of the round. So I just worked into my final stitch, and now we should have a total of 8 petals. And now we can fasten off the white yarn since we won't need it anymore. We're going to chain 1, and we'll cut our yarn about 4 inches. And then pull through with your hook and tighten the knot. And here is our daisy. Before we continue with the tutorial, I wanted to share with you all these products that were very kindly gifted to me by Ekster for my upcoming trip to Japan and Vietnam. This is the Ekster Card Holder Pro, and it's made from space-grade aluminum. It blocks RFID to prevent wireless theft, and it holds up to 12 cards and cash as well. It also has an expandable back plate that you can use to hold this tracker card that they also sent me. You can see where the tracker card is on a map. You can ring it from your phone, and it'll also alert you if you leave it behind. And while I'm in Japan, I'll have to keep my passport on me at all times, so this tracker card will keep me from losing it and my other valuables. I'm also not great at packing light, but Ekster has also come up with this space-saving travel pack vacuum kit. By compressing your clothes, you can have 60% more space in your bag. You can compress these bags with any vacuum cleaner, or with this portable and rechargeable air pump that can compress 15 plus clothing items per bag. They're designed to fit in a carry-on, which is perfect for me since a carry-on is all I can bring for my trip. If you're interested in any of these products, click on the link in the description box below and use my discount code VIVCROCHETS for 10% off. Thanks so much to Ekster for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the tutorial. Now we'll take our base color yarn, and we're going to attach it to one of the stitches from the first round. So if you look on the back, the reason we worked into the front loops only was so the back loops could stick out the back, and we can work into the back loops for this next round. And to attach our yarn, you can attach it however you like. I'm going to make a slip knot. And to make a slip knot, it's very similar to the magic ring. We're going to place the yarn over our hand with the tail end at the bottom. Grab the yarn with your thumb, grab the top, and wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X. Hold it with your pinky, and then take your hook, go under one side of the X, over, grab the other side, pull it through. Now is where it's a little different. We're just going to take our 2 fingers out and then tighten it. And here's our slip knot. And then we're going to take this loop off of our hook. So you can just put your finger in like that and then take your hook out. And we have the slip knot on our finger. We're going to go over to the back of the flower and we're going to insert our hook into any of these stitches. So from the outside, under the back loop, towards the center. So like that. And then we're going to place this loop back onto our hook. And we're going to tighten it by pulling on the working yarn. And then we're going to pull this loop on our hook through the back loop. Like that. So just until the loop is through. And then we're going to chain 5. And then we're going to go to the next stitch, the next back loop right here, and we're going to do a double crochet. So we'll yarn over, go under that loop, and then do a double crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to move on to the next loop, and we're going to do a double crochet. So it's looking like that. We're going to chain 2, do a double crochet under the next loop, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. So chain 2, do a double crochet under the next loop. And then once we get to this knot here, it's kind of hard to tell, but there is a loop right here. We're going to make sure that we go under that loop. So just to the left of the knot, where we secured the white and yellow yarn, there's a loop. We're going to do a double crochet, chain 2, and then I have one more loop. And the next loop is where we attached our yarn, so we're going to stop here. And after working all the way around, going into every loop, you should have a total of 8 double crochets. So here's the last one we just made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this chain 5 in the beginning does count as a double crochet and a chain 2. So we have 8 including this chain 5. And once you have the right amount of stitches, we're going to make sure that after our final double crochet, we chain 2. And we're going to look at this chain 5, and we're going to slip stitch into the third chain from the bottom. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And in this chain, we're going to slip stitch. So insert your hook into the chain. So go through the V, and then yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, and tighten. And there is our finished round. And if you're following along with the written pattern, the petals are round 2A and the first round of green is round 2B. And for round 3, we're going to start by chaining 2. And now we're going to be working into these spaces that we've made under the chain 2s. So all of these spaces in between the double crochets. In each of them, we're going to do 4 double crochets. So first we're going to work into this space. This first one right here, we're going to do a double crochet into the space. So there's 1. And then go back into the space. And we have 2. And we'll do 3, and then 4. So now this one space has 4 double crochets. Now we're going to move on to the next space, this one here, and we're going to go into it And we're going to do 4 double crochets into this space as well. And we'll also do 4 double crochets into the next space and into each space all the way around. And once we get to the end, we'll meet back up. And once you've gone around doing 4 double crochets into each chain space, you should have a total of 32 stitches in this round. And then we'll do a slip stitch to finish the round. So again, here's our chain 2, and then to the left of it, that's our first double crochet. We're going to go under the V at the top and do a slip stitch. And there is round 3. It should look like a circle behind the flower. And here is the back. Now round 4, we're going to start forming the square. So we're going to start by chaining 2. And in the same stitch, we slip stitch 2. We're going to do 2 double crochets into that stitch. So there's our first double crochet. We're going to go back into that same stitch and do a second double crochet. Next, we're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch. And to do a half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook under the V of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that's a half double crochet. Next, we're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And to do a single crochet, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And that's a single crochet. And again, we're going to do another single crochet in the next stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. And we're going to keep going until we have 4 single crochets in a row. So now we have 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and we're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch. So again, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets again. So we'll do our first double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to go back into the same stitch and do a second double crochet. So that forms one side of the square. And now we're at the corner, so we're going to need to chain 2. And now we can start on another side of the square. And we're going to repeat these same exact stitches. So we're going to work into the next stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into this next stitch. So there's our first, and then our second into that stitch. Next is a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then it's a half double crochet. Then it's 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And there is the next side of the square. And again, we're going to chain 2 to form the corner. And we're going to do another side. So we're going to repeat this pattern. It's 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then a half double crochet, and then 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches, a half double crochet, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then chain 2 and repeat for the final side of the square. And the pattern should line up so your final stitch will have 2 double crochets to finish your final side of the square. And then to finish this corner, we're going to chain 2 and then slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. So there's round 4, and we're going to add 1 more round to make the square a little bit bigger. And to increase the size of the square, we're going to start by chaining 2, and then we're going to work into this corner space right here, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into this corner. So there's 1, and there's 2. Next, we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the stitches along the side. So make sure you don't miss the very first stitch right after the chain space. Right here, we're going to do just 1 double crochet and then 1 double crochet into each of the stitches along the side. And after your 2 double crochets in the corner, there should be 10 double crochets along the side of the square. And once you reach the end, you should come up on another corner. And in this corner, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So there's 2. And then we're going to chain 2 and do 2 more double crochets into this corner. So that forms the new corner. And then again, make sure you don't miss the first stitch. We're going to work across each of these 10 stitches along the side of the square and do 1 double crochet into each of them. Once you've gone across the side, again, we're going to work into this corner space. And we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets all into this corner space. And now we're on the next side of the square, and then we're just going to repeat this pattern of doing 1 double crochet into each stitch along the side. In this corner, we'll do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then we'll work across the final side of the square, and then we'll meet back at the end of the round. And then once you reach the end of the round, we're going to complete this corner because every corner has 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. This one only has 2 double crochets. So we're going to complete it by doing 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then we'll slip stitch to the first stitch. And there is round 5. And if you do want a bigger square, you can add a 6th round, and it's going to be exactly the same as this last round we just did. You start by chaining 2, do 2 double crochets into this corner, work across the side, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the corner, work across the side, repeat. But if you're happy with the size of the square as it is, we can fasten off. And to fasten off, again, we're going to chain 1 and cut our yarn about 4 inches long. Then pull through with your hook and tighten the knot. And the last thing to do is to weave in our loose ends. So I'm just going to take this one we fasten off with at the very end and a yarn needle, and I'll thread it into my yarn needle. And we're just going to be hiding the tail under the loops of our stitches, and I do prefer to do it from the back so it's less visible on the front. So let's just go under the loops. and pull the yarn down away from the outside of the square. And then we're going to go under the loops of our stitches. So you can see at the bottom of these double crochets, there's these loops. We can just run our needle under these loops. And then pull the yarn through. Just until the yarn comes through all the way and it's taut. And then to really secure it, I'm going to go down to another round and pull my yarn through, and then go back in the opposite direction under the loops of these stitches. And I'm just going to push my needle through as far as it'll go to use up the rest of the loose end. And then make sure it's not pulled too tight. And then whatever is left, we can just trim it off. And that loose end is hidden, and we can do that for the rest of our loose ends. And once we finish weaving in our loose ends, our daisy granny square is finished. And for the other side of the pouch, if you want it to have a flower as well, then just make a second flower granny square. But if you want it to be solid on the back, then we're going to make a solid granny square. So to do a solid granny square, we're going to start with doing another magic ring. And for our first round, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do a total of 8 single crochets into the ring. And once we have 8 single crochets in our ring, we can tighten the ring. And there is round 1. Now for round 2, we're going to start doing double crochets. So we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 into the first stitch. And then 1 into the second stitch. Then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do a double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches again. So 1 and 2. And we're going to repeat that. So we chain 2 and do a double crochet into the next 2 stitches. And one more time, chain 2 and do a double crochet into the last 2 stitches. And finally, we're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to our first stitch of the round. And here's round 2. It's okay if it doesn't lay flat. The next round we add should flatten it. Now the next round we do is very similar to the last round of the flower granny square. We're going to start by chaining 2, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into this first chain space under our 2 chains. So there's 1 and then 2. And then we're going to start working across and do just 1 double crochet into each stitch until we reach the next chain space. Then at the next chain space, we'll do 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets into that same chain space. Then we have to work across these 2 stitches and do just 1 double crochet into each of them. Then at the next chain space, again we'll do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. And once we reach the final chain space, just like with the last round for the flower granny square, we're only going to do 2 double crochets. Then chain 2 and slip stitch. And there is our third round. And rounds 4 and 5 are going to be the exact same as this last round we just did. We're going to chain 2, do 2 double crochets into the first chain space, double crochet into each of these stitches along the side of the square, and once we reach the corner space, we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets all into that corner space, then double crochet along the next side, do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the corner, and repeat all the way around. And at the end, we do 2 double crochets, chain 2, and slip stitch. And we're going to be repeating that for 2 more rounds, so for round 4 and for round 5. And we'll meet back once I finished round 5. So I just finished round 5, and your solid granny square should be exactly the same size as your flower granny square. And I just made sure that I weaved in my loose end for this new square, because once we attach them, it might be kind of hard to reach it. So now we can start attaching our 2 squares together, and we're going to use the yarn that's still attached to the solid granny square. And if you do a second flower granny square, just leave your yarn attached like it is here, and we're going to attach it the same exact way. We're going to take the first square and flip it over, and then we're going to take the solid square and place it on top of our flower square. And we're actually going to start by chaining 1, and then we're going to turn. So now our flower square is on top instead of the solid square being on top. And now we're going to be working into each chain space and each stitch along both squares at the same time to attach them. And we're going to be using single crochets, but you can attach them however you want with slip stitches or by sewing them together. First, we're going to work into the chain space right here, and we're going to go through both squares. So we'll go through the chain 2 space, through the front square, and then through the back square. So now we're going through both squares at the same time, and we're going to do a single crochet. Then we can move on to the next stitches right after the chain 2 space. So first we'll go through the first stitch on the front square, and then through the first stitch on the back square. So again, this is right after the chain 2 space. We're in the stitch right after it. And we're through both squares at the same time. And we'll do a single crochet. And we'll work into the next stitches on both squares. And we'll do a single crochet. Then we'll go through the next stitches on both squares and do a single crochet. And we'll just continue working, doing a single crochet through the next stitch of both squares. And once we reach the next chain space, in this chain space, we're going to do 4 single crochets. So we're going to insert a hook into both chain spaces, do a single crochet. So that's 1. We'll go back in and do 2, then 3, and 4. So that rounds out the corner. And now we can start working along the next sides of the squares. And again, we're just lining up the stitches and going through both stitches of each square and doing a single crochet. And we'll work across, and once we reach the next chain 2 space over here, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to do 4 single crochets into the chain 2 spaces here, and then work across the third side, and we're going to stop before we reach this chain 2 space. And once we reach that chain space, we're only going to do 1 single crochet. And now it should look like this. And now we're going to be working along the top of this opening here. And this next round is going to be a mesh round where we can insert our drawstrings. So we're going to start by chaining 2. And now we're going to be working into the chain 2 spaces and the stitches along the opening of the pouch. So we're going to work into this first chain 2 space, just in the top square, so we're not working into both squares at the same time anymore. Just into the top square, we're going to do 1 double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip this first stitch and do a double crochet into the next. So that'll form that space for our drawstring. Then we're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and do a double crochet into the next. And we're going to repeat that across, chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet into the next stitch. And then once you do your final double crochet into the final stitch on the side, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do a double crochet into this chain 2 space. And now it should look like that. And we're going to chain 1 and flip the pouch over. And now we're going to be working along the top of this back square. So first we're going to do a double crochet into this chain 2 space all the way on the right side. And we're going to repeat what we did on the front side. We're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and do a double crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet. And then after our final double crochet, we'll chain 1 and do a double crochet into the chain 2 space. So now the back of the pouch looks like this. And we'll finish the round by chaining 1 and slip stitching to the first double crochet we made. And here is our first round of extending the pouch. For this next round, we're just going to be doing a double crochet all the way around, working 1 into each stitch and each chain space. So we'll chain 2, and we'll do a double crochet into the first stitch, and then a double crochet into this chain space, then into the stitch, and we'll keep working until we reach the side of the pouch. So once we've done a double crochet into each stitch and chain space along the front side of the pouch, and we're on the side, we're actually going to skip this chain space and do a double crochet into the next stitch after that. And then we're going to just continue working like normal, doing a double crochet into each chain space and each stitch. And near the end of the round, we're going to do the same thing. We'll do a double crochet into the final stitch, and we're going to skip over that chain space on the side of the pouch and just slip stitch to the first stitch of our round. And there is the second round of extending the pouch. Now for our third round, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around. And once we've worked all the way around, we can slip stitch. And there is our third round. Now we can fasten off by chaining 1 and cutting our yarn and pulling through with our hook and tightening the knot. And there is our pouch, but we still need our drawstrings. I'm going to take the same color I used for my petals, and we're going to make a slip knot. So a slip knot is very similar to our magic ring, but at this point we take our fingers out and we tighten it. Now we're going to chain the length of the drawstrings that we want. So just imagine how far out you want the drawstring to be. So it would stay on one side and then it would extend out to maybe around here. So I'm going to start chaining until I reach double that length. And I'm going to chain 50. So here are my 50 chains. And if you fold them in half, you can sort of see if that's a good length for you. And if it is, we can fasten off. So we'll just cut the yarn, and we can cut it pretty short, pull through with our hook, and just tighten the knot. And we're going to make one more identical drawstring. So we'll make another slip knot and chain 50 and fasten off. Now we have our 2 drawstrings, and I'm just going to quickly hide my loose end here before we put the drawstrings into the pouch. So to insert our drawstrings, we're going to take 1 drawstring and we're going to go into the second double crochet from the left side. So this one is the first one into this chain space here. This one is the second one, and we're going to go behind the second one like that. And we'll take our drawstring and loop it onto our hook and pull it through. And we're going to pull it through halfway. So just half of the drawstring is through. And now we're going to just weave this end of the drawstring over and under these double crochets here. So the drawstring is under this double crochet, so it's going to go over this next one, and then it'll go under this one. So we'll go behind that double crochet and pull the drawstring behind it. It'll go over this one and under this one. Then over this one and under this one. And it'll go over this final double crochet and just out to the side. Now we're going to flip our pouch over. And we're going to do the same with this other end of the drawstring. So again, we're going to start with the second double crochet, and we'll go under and loop our drawstring onto our hook and pull it through. So it'll go under that second double crochet, it'll go over the next one and under the next one. It'll go over and then under. And over and then under this one. It'll go over the final double crochet and just stick out to the side like that. And now we have our first drawstring in, and we can put in our second one. So the second one is going to go under the same double crochets, but it'll be to the other side like that. So for the second drawstring, we can just go under all of these double crochets. And then pull our drawstring through all of these double crochets. And pull it through like that. Then we'll flip it. And we'll go under all of these double crochets. And pull the other end of the drawstring through. And just make sure that the ends are even. And we can test that it closes the pouch by pulling on the drawstrings. And if you're happy with everything, we can trim the ends of our drawstrings. So I'm just going to line them up with the ends of the chains and then just cut about an inch. And I'll do the same to the other side. And here's our finished flower drawstring pouch. And that's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And also let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. And before we end the video, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my channel members. Thank you to Eilish, Taylor, Thelma, Yati, Sharon, Brissins, Jaymon, Amarachi, Casey, Allison, Nadine, and Joy. You can become a member of this channel and have these little yarn ball badges next to your name whenever you comment, and other perks such as member shoutouts, early access to new videos, discount codes for my Etsy, help with any of my patterns, and connecting on social media. Thank you again to all my channel members, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.